international press, farmers, sponsors, and Farm Aid fans. My name is Monica Eng. I am a food reporter at Chicago Public Radio, but I'm here today as a music lover and someone who loves clean food, clean air, clean water, and farmers. And so I'd like to introduce to you a board that has worked very hard for that. I'm talking about Neil Young, Dave Matthews, John Mellencamp, Willie Nelson, and Farm Aid Executive Director Carolyn Mugar. Thank you. Willie, would you like to welcome everybody?
Well, yeah, we'd like to welcome everybody to number 30, Farm Aid. You all have been with us all these years and standing by the farmer. We're still here. The farmers are still here. They're doing a little better, and they're thanking you all a lot. So thank you for being here for Farm Aid 30.
We're going to kick things off. We're going to have a series of videos, and the first one is going to be taking a look at what Farm Aid has done over the last 30 years. Hit it.
If you eat, then you should be concerned about helping the guy who's growing our food, the farmer.
In 1985, on the front page of newspapers was farmers getting their farms auctioned off. And there was a pretty heightened awareness about what was happening to family farmers.
The original purpose of Farm Aid was to bring some awareness to the fact that the farmer was in trouble.
Somebody needs to be out there in a national spotlight, shining their lights on the small family farms to keep them alive and keep them relevant. We're losing ground every day to corporations and ag business.
We should be interested in knowing where our food comes from. If it comes from the soil that is organic, that are grown by our family farmers, we know it's more healthy than the food grown by the big corporations who saturate the soil with chemicals and pesticides.
Farm Aid is helping us develop sustainable markets, local markets. Farm Aid has given all family farmers the ability to have a voice.
The farmer's share of that was 3.5 cents. Now, is it any wonder that corn farmers and wheat farmers are going broke?
It's corporate America against small America, so, I mean, how can you not support that?
Farm Aid have led the charge for a family farm system of agriculture in this country versus an industrial agricultural system.
Over time, Farm Aid has come to not just talk about the crisis, but also to talk about the great things and the great resilience and creativity of farmers who are facing a deck stacked against them.
There's a lot of work to do, and Farm Aid is the cutting edge, it's the grassroots.
Such an incredibly important mission is doing even bigger work, creating the good food movement and these new kinds of chains with from the field to the table, and teaching people about what that can look like more sustainably, knowing your farmer, supporting local economies. These are all really important things.
It's all about keeping family farmers on the land because they are our only guarantee that we're going to have a food production system that produces this incredibly good quality food.
Farm Aid is about family farms, and we're family farmers, so what better combination?
As Farm Aid marks its 30th year, we're going to take a look back to see how the good movement has come to be where it is today, from the farm crisis of the 80s to what the challenges are today. Before we get into it, I'd like to relay a message from eaters across the country to those who've worked on this for 30 years, and they'd like to say thank you for all the hard work you've put in on these shows, on the grants, on the advocacy throughout the years. For this 30th anniversary, Farm Aid has crowdsourced input from people across the country to find out what change looks like today in the fields, in their kitchens, in their communities. So we're going to hear their voices throughout this program. We're going to hear from advocates, farmers, activists, and eaters right here on this stage who were a part of the movement in '85 and who are carrying on the movement today. So let's start a conversation about farmers. They're the people who work hard. Some of the hardest working people I know are not journalists, they are farmers. And they tirelessly work in the field to bring us good food and to protect our land. Let's hear what they have to say about what's happening on their farms today. On this video.
It's living and breathing. This is what it's all about.
Let's get back to local production of everything.
I love teaching people how to grow their own vegetables.
I'm a farmer who loves to cook, and the best flavors come from the best ingredients.
It's about making it more sustainable.
Be self-sufficient.
I love heirloom tomatoes, and this guarantees me my yearly supply.
We do a strawberry festival, and we do a pumpkin festival.
I grow organic because I love healthy eating.
And not one GMO on the whole farm.
You can't save the whole world, but you can save little pieces of it.
I have farmed 22 years, and I have seen a lot of positive changes.
Urban farming is growing, and it's just going to continue growing.
I'm a farmer because I love to grow amazing, delicious products.
It's important that we raise our children knowing where their food comes from.
We're going to support our family farmers and ranchers and keep them on the land.
We didn't become farmers because we're local foods activists, but we became local foods activists because we're farmers.
When I commit to a crop, it's just like committing to her. I'm there to the end.
How intimate it is for a farm, and particularly a farm family, to grow the food that people eat.
Now I'd like to welcome on the stage two farmers who represent the roots and the future of the family farming movement. First, Corky Jones is a Nebraska family farmer who's been a farm activist since 1970. And I hear he's never missed a single farm aid. The next is Darius Jones, a 23-year-old Chicago farmer. That's right, a farmer right here in Chicago, who farms the rooftop garden at McCormick Place that produces 8,000 pounds of food a year.
We're still there. Willie, they can't do it without us. That's all there is to it.
You got it, buddy.
All right. Thanks for putting it together. Yes, yes.
We got too many mics. All right, let's put this one. Do you want to hold on? Okay, Corky, let's start with you. You've been at this for quite some time. How did you get involved in Farm Aid?
I guess getting involved back about 100 years ago, somewhere along 55, I returned from the Navy, and during the Korean War, took a tour over there. And one of them was lucky and made it home, started farming because that was where I was growing up. And after a few years of farming, and I could see where, hey, something's not working here. As little as we are, and we all had extra jobs to help support the farming. But yet, there's still something wrong. And then there was an outfit that started having tractor cage. And there was a reason for having tractor cage, because if you want to get the people's attention, the populace of this nation and around the world, you do one of three things. You have bloodshed, that'll get the press, that'll get everybody there. You tear something down, that will get everybody's attention, but something different. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you what, when 60,000 farmers and tractors leave rural America and go to Washington, D.C. to change policy, that was something different.
Thank you so much. Darius, you are 23, and you're also a bit of a farming veteran, having gotten into it at 17. Can you tell us how you got into agriculture and why you stayed in it?
Yeah, so when I was 17 years old, I was incarcerated for about 15, 16 months. And then I came across the Chicago Botanic Gardens Windy City Harvest Program. Through that Transition to Jobs program was my first introduction into agriculture, or just vegetable production in general.
All right, and then you started growing and selling?
Oh, yeah. All right, so off the record.
Don't take any notes, Press.
No notes. I really got into it about a year and a half in. At first, it was really for the paycheck, you know. It was just like, this is something to do, never my first job. But then once I started working farmers markets, there was so many beautiful women everywhere. I was like, oh, man, some beautiful farming women out here.
All right, thank you for your honesty. So, Willie, what does it mean to you to see how your work has affected farmers over these years?
It's very gratifying to see that after 30 years, we're still here, you're still here, we're still fighting for the farmers. The fight ain't over yet, but we're gaining on those suckers, so stay with us.
All right, now we've got 4 sections to this. We're going to keep it moving. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Any more you'd like to say about these 30 years of Farm Aid?
Yes, there certainly is. After the tractorcade and everything, we still needed help. We ran into Willie Nelson, John Mellencamp, and it was something started in Champaign, Illinois, and they invited farmers, Neil Young and everybody. I was there, and we sat down just like we're sitting today and talked about what's wrong, what can we do, what do you think we need to do. Out of that came Farm Aid. And Farm Aid is, you can look at it from any place in the world. There's thousands and thousands of farmers that we have lost. But Willie, Neil, John, Dave, there's thousands and thousands of more was saved because of Farm Aid.
Thank you so much for that perspective. It's heart-wrenching. During the height of the family farm crisis, farmers and neighbors stepped up to help each other, to give each other legal advice and legal counseling, emotional support, and a listening ear. Many times they were talking to farmers who were contemplating suicide, feeling shame about the loss of their family farm. These farmers were being told by the banks and the government that they were bad managers, that it was their fault that they lost their farm. Farm advocates have been tireless in helping family farmers navigate the system, many after learning the system by saving their own farms. Farm Aid has begun a documentary project that explores the legacy and the future of these farm advocates. Let's take a look at that video.
There's a home place under fire tonight in the heartland, and the bankers are taking my home and my land from me.
In the countryside in the 1980s, there was an economic crisis that affected family farmers. There were no legal resources available for folks, even though they had legal rights. Faced with that circumstance, a few people, completely on their own initiative, without any obvious models, decided that they could learn enough to fight back.
The United States was losing 2,100 farm families a week. That's how many we were losing every week.
Farmers are willing to invest their lives into the land if someone is willing to help them to get a leg up.
It was like my way of life was being taken away from me. And the way it was being taken away from me was what bothered me the most. It just seemed so unfair. And so that made me want to challenge it. And when I found out there was ways to challenge it, I did.
The important piece I found was that you could go through the farmer's file. It became very clear to me someone was wrong, but it wasn't the farmer. But it was an easy way to get him off the farm, sell the farm, write the loans off, another one put to sleep.
The bankers are taking the homes and the land away.
To make a community go, we depend on each other. We have to have each other. And unless you listen and help us, we'll all go down.
His American dream fell apart.
Farm advocates are as important today as they ever were. The battle is not won, it's not all over. Today's another day.
You tell me what it means. You tell me what it means. As a home base under fire tonight in the home.
Please welcome to the stage two very special farm advocates, Mona Lee Brock, an icon who's been called the angel on the other end of the line, helping thousands of farmers in crisis for more than 30 years. Mona Lee Brock. The other is Joe Schroeder, a Kentucky farmer and advocate with the Rural Advancement Foundation International, USA. Everybody wants to give him a hug. People who become policy wonks and who learn the ins and outs of legal foreclosure and mortgage statements don't always get the spotlight they deserve. But in order to keep a farm and to understand the law, many people have dedicated themselves to knowing these rules and regs by heart. And there are people who will be called, who have their phone on day and night to advise those on how they can keep their farms. And it's folks like this who don't always get heard from by the general public. Carolyn, do you want to start by telling us a bit about what a farmer advocate is?
I would be honored to. Mona Lee, I'm going to just... People don't know necessarily what these people do. They're, for all purposes, most purposes, invisible to all of America, but these are the people that keep the family farmers on the land. Farmers in crisis call. The really important thing is who answers that phone. Advocates listen, and they know how to listen. Mona Lee has heard that click at the other end of the line, and she's lost some. That's how crucial this work is, and it's going on every day today. She has saved way, way more. So this person who we have come to call an advocate spends all kinds of time with that farmer. These advocates are mostly farmers themselves who have often faced foreclosure. They learned the hard way. They sit at the kitchen table and they go through shoeboxes and shoeboxes of receipts, piles of paper, and they figure out how to save that farm. They win because they take the time to learn the laws and the regulations and the programs, and they do the hard work that most of us, our eyes would just glaze over. We call them advocates because they don't stop there. They advocate on behalf of family farmers to banks or agencies or whomever they need to make sure that that farmer is treated fairly. Sorry. And has the best chance to succeed. And we give them that chance to succeed by their own hard work and not lose the farm because of a storm or discrimination or some bureaucrat. This is the work that Farm Aid has funded for 30 years. And when that farmer calls our 1-800-FARM AID line, these are the people we work with, send calls to. This is the Farm Aid hotline.
So Mona Lee, can you tell me why you felt it was important to get into this work?
Yes, I did. I can tell you. I visited a neighbor of mine one evening, and next morning I got a call that this neighbor had called his daughter and told her to come over to the pasture where he had some cattle. He was going to check on the cattle, and he told her to come over and pick up his body. And this really affected me. It affected me deeply. And at this moment, I knew something had to be done. I didn't know what, had no earthly idea. And then I found out that the Farm Aid had been organized, and these gentlemen who sit on the stage with me were instrumental in bringing together something that made possible some aid completely across the nation for the farmers. And I went into Oklahoma City, where I'm from Oklahoma, and we really didn't know what to do at that moment, but after having a conference, we decided that the best thing we could do is just set up a line for farmers to call in. And the first call I had was from a farmer who was being auctioned off. And then the second sound I heard was the clicking of a gun. And you can imagine how I felt at that moment. So I started talking to him, and the name really wasn't important at that time. What was important was, what did he have in his hand? Did he really plan to use it? Tell me about your family. Do you have a wife? Do you have children? Where are they if they're grown? And this is what we dealt on. And the main thing is to engage the farmer in conversation. And we engaged in conversation, and pretty soon he had decided that the sun was going to come out the next morning, and we had a farmer contact to go to him. And there is a gentleman here on the stage with me who was very instrumental in going to them, working with them, and helping to save their lives. And many times he went one direction, I went another. And because of an organization like this, I could count endless, looking back, I would know endless numbers of farmers whose life might have been saved and who are doing well now. This is what comes in on the line. You never know until you pick up that telephone what will come in. Now, this is just one thing, one problem that presented itself. Many others are out there. This is what we're working against.
Thank you so much. Now, Joe, you're a Kentucky farmer and an advocate with the Rural Advancement Foundation International USA. What are some of the challenges that you face with family farms today?
So the year I started this work was 2008. And that same year, the newly appointed Secretary of Ag, Tom Vilsack, made a public decree calling for 100,000 new farmers to replace the aging out population. And since then, we're down about 100,000 farmers. And it's been clear to me that that was a mistake, you know, and I'm not here to make the same mistake to call for new farmers. I want to be here to call for us to save the farms that we've got. The folks who live in those rural communities, who are rooted there, who have family there, who have generations of ag expertise, you go with what you've got. And in order to do that, we have to have advocates. And so the advocates that we have are all sitting behind us here. They've got 30 years of experience each. And they've done incredible work. In order to save what we've got to have more people behind them taking the expertise and turning it into a new generation of advocates. And in order to have a new generation of advocates, we have to have young people coming here ready to do this hard work and learn from the folks that we have while we've got them and while we've got the advocates to fight for, and while we've got the farmers to advocate for. And so, you know, my plea to you, to the public, and to whoever sees this media is that the farm families, the rural folks, they're the ones who need to decide who's going to be first in line to advocate. They're the ones who know who's got the expertise and the skills and the heart and the courage. And so I want you folks to send me your bravest and smartest and most brilliant young people from the countryside who want to get in and fight. And I'll take them on, and I'll make sure they get to know these folks and understand what this work really is about.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. I'd like to bring in John Mellencamp. Now, John, you understand better than many about the importance of community in rural areas, in not very large towns. You notice I didn't say small towns. What is the importance of neighbors helping neighbors and communities coming together to work on issues like this?
Well, I'm going to ignore your question.
Feel free.
And I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. And that is, I want to stand up and thank Neil and Dave and Willie and Carolyn. And where's Glenda? You guys understand that for 30 years, every year, we all come here and Neil, where'd you come from? Los Angeles, right? Yeah. Well, I meant yesterday. L.A., right? He came from his mother. Unlike anybody else in the world, Neil came from his mother. Dave, where'd you come from? Seattle. He came all the way from Seattle. Willie came. I was just with Willie in New York. Carolyn came from Boston. For 30 years, we've been doing this. And I can't tell you, how amazing these concerts have been. Not just us guys, because, Neil happens to be one of the best songwriters of his generation. Dave is one of the most successful touring acts in the world. Willie was one of the original outlaws down in Nashville that changed the whole look of Nashville. When Willie Nelson showed up down there, they didn't know what the fuck to think. What are we going to do with this fella? So my whole point is that I'm talking about the music. The music has been fantastic. We've had everybody play at Farm Aid, from Dylan to, you can't hardly name a person. Billy Joel, I could just, Guns N' Roses, Lou Reed, people that you would never expect that would lend a helping hand. And we've played all over this country, And I, for one, am humbled and proud just to be part of it. I'm proud of Neil, I'm proud of Dave, and I'm extra proud of Willie for being able to have the courage and the stamina to keep it going, and that's all I want to say. So thank you guys very much for supporting Farm Aid.
Thank you. Well, so much is happening in farms and communities today. There are also things happening in Washington, D.C. And Farm Aid has been instrumental in trying to help with policies that it would like to advocate and not advocate in D.C. And advocates and policy organizations and folks who've been helping out with Farm Aid's policies have been instrumental in that. Let's hear from them now.
Family farms, yes. Factory farms, no.
We're on a mission to change the food system by paying farmers a fair price and bringing people fresh, local produce where they shop and eat every day.
We've doubled the amount of produce for over 2,000 low-income families shopping at our market.
We organized over 10,500 Missourians to take action against corporate control and in support of family farms and good food.
Stopping some farm foreclosures and responding to many disasters.
Fighting for policies that support and protect family farmers.
Every year, we're training 25 new organic farmers in Maine.
We need to ensure that our communities continue to have access to that water.
Agriculture offers veterans purpose, opportunity, and physical and psychological benefits.
We lease land and equipment and provide technical assistance out in the field.
We work to oppose bad trade deals.
Help farmers adapt to severe weather events and to make sure that their voices are heard in the ongoing debate about changes in our climate.
We have been able to assist hundreds of Kansas family farmers and ranchers in both education and advocacy.
Building homegrown prosperity
for family farmers and ranchers in rural communities.
We worked with fishermen to stop factory fishing and the corporate takeover of our seafood.
And showed me how to navigate in the State House with legislators, listen to my problems.
This year we've been involved with supporting country of origin labeling.
We're building supply chains that get people shopping in ordinary supermarkets the freshest possible produce.
We're fighting to keep farmed animals out of factory farms.
Since 2008, New Roots for Refugees farmers have sold over $600,000 worth of produce in Kansas City.
We've given small-scale grants to over 500 of some of the most entrepreneurial farmers in the state.
Let's welcome two individuals who've worked to fight for family farmers on policy. They're Lynn Hayes, the founding attorney of the Farmer Legal Action Group, who was the co-sponsor on the class action suit that saved hundreds of thousands of family farms from foreclosure in 1980. Welcome, Lynn. We'll also be hearing from Leslie Chuzo, a young farmer and co-founder of Missouri's chapter of National Young Farmers. So first of all, Lynn, I heard it was estimated that we were losing about 300 farms a day in 1985. What was at stake when you got in on this fight?
Well, when I started this work in the early 1980s, there were literally hundreds of thousands of farmers being threatened with foreclosure and liquidation, which would have meant them losing their farms and their homes at that time. And we got involved by being involved in a piece of litigation that, with some other attorneys, ultimately stopped about 80,000 foreclosures around the country. And then we worked with many of the farm organizations, the grassroots farm organizations represented here and supported by Farm Aid, to get some legislation passed that then allowed restructuring of many of those loans and kept literally tens of thousands of farmers on the land. Since that time, we've had the honor of working with grassroots farm organizations and many of the farm advocates behind us and in front of us here to do all kinds of work as lawyers to support the grassroots campaigns to save family farms, and have worked on issues from trying to ensure packers don't control cattle prices and hog prices the way they are, to get fair prices to farmers. We've worked on issues related to discrimination by the USDA against minority groups, particularly Black farmers, Native American farmers, Hispanic farmers, and women farmers. We've worked on sustainable agriculture issues. And what we're seeing today is that even though we've had loads of wins over the years since Farm Aid started, thanks to a great extent of Farm Aid supporting and bringing together all these grassroots organizations, there's still much, much more work to be done. There is constant battles to improve government policy, both at the federal and the state levels, to help preserve family farmers, to ensure that corporations don't take over and industrialize the production of all of our agriculture. There's needs for new programs and new benefits to allow young farmers to come in and get access to land and the credit and the programs they need to support us and to provide the food that we all need. You know, one of the things, and I've obviously been in this business for a while now, thanks again to Farm Aid, but one of the most enheartening things is the energy that I'm seeing from young people like Leslie here, who are so committed to getting young farmers on the land and to provide good, healthy food in our local communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Leslie, what are some of the challenges to getting new and young farmers on the land and keeping them on the land?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Farm Aid for having me here. This is my first Farm Aid. I'm honored to be here on the stage with real-life rock stars and farm advocacy rock stars who have paved the way for me to continue to do what I do and who are continuing to support family farms and fighting for family farms. So I am a co-founder of the Missouri Young Farmers Coalition. We started very informally as a group of farmers who wanted to share ideas over a couple beers and a good meal. We quickly realized that it was important for us to organize a little bit more and meet the needs of our small community. So we became part of the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're a regional chapter in Missouri. And the National Young Farmers Coalition was very familiar with a lot of the challenges that we face in our community, including things, as young farmers and beginning farmers, things like land access, identifying and establishing markets, student loans, and financing to help with capital expenditures on the farm. In fact, right now, the National Young Farmers Coalition has a bill in the House called the Young Farmers Success Act, which aims to add farming to the list of professions that receive public service loan forgiveness. Yeah. So what that would do, that would allow farmers to continue to work on their farms, pay income-based payments on their student loans, then after 10 years, that the balance of that loan would be forgiven. So that's really important because, for one, it incentivizes young farmers to get out there and work in agriculture. It also allows young farmers to not have to deal with the burden of paying and financing their farm at the same time that they are paying off student loan debt, especially since 70% right now of college graduates are graduating in college with student loan debt. So, really, here's the deal. Only 6% of our farmers are under the age of 35, and with 2/3 of our farmland looking to transition ownership in the next 25 years, we really have to get those young farmers out there farming the land, or that land will go out of production, and we will find ourselves in a pretty serious crisis.
Thank you so much. Now, speaking of policy, I understand one of the highlights of Farm Aid every year is Neil Young talking about his thoughts on farming, agriculture, the environment, and policy. So Neil, I'm not even going to try to direct your question, but what do you think Farm Aid can do in terms of educating and illuminating people on policy?
Well, first of all, thank you for everybody that John mentioned and everybody else here for supporting Farm Aid. We really appreciate it very much. It's hard to say when somebody asks you, what has Farm Aid done in 30 years? And some people are stumped and they won't know what. But we've been a friend to the farmer. The farmer's always had someone to talk to, and we covered that. But the thing we didn't cover is why, and why we need to be together, and why we're here is because we're up against a gigantic force that keeps coming at us from everywhere. And it's centered in our government, and it's backed up by multinational corporations who are taking over the farmland of the United States, who produce 90% of the corn. Their seeds are owned by these companies, so farmers can't trade seeds. Currently in the Senate, there's a bill that if it passes through the Senate, it will make it illegal to trade seeds farther than 3 to 5 miles. That means that farmers won't be able to do what they've done since time immemorial, since everything started, the way it's always been on God's green earth, is now, because of our government and the money that they're taking from the multinational corporations, we are being forced to give up the right for our farmers to trade seeds. We need seed justice in this land. We are standing against this thing, and it's so big that we don't even talk about it very much, but it has to be addressed. When you drive across Colorado, when you drive across this great country, you see these lines and lines of corn, many miles and miles of cornfields, and they're all corporate farms. 90% of these farms are corporate farms. The American farm is disappearing. This is a reality. We keep saying we're fighting, but it is disappearing. And they said why. We've only got a few young people involved, and the farms are going to change hands, and we know when the farms change hands, that's when the corporations come in and grab another slice. And then they tell you that they are saving the world, that they're doing this so that they can feed the world. And that is complete bullshit. They're doing this so that they can patent the seeds and control the world. And that's what this is about. And don't let them fool you into thinking anything else. That's what it's about. It's about money and their corporations, and they got to pay the government from somewhere. So it's just a big circle, and we give, and they take. And that's what's happening. That's who we're fighting. Don't ever lose your focus on the fact that to save the American farm and to save the American way of life as it's been for generations and generations, we have to stand up to the American government and tell them enough is enough. We need to change the laws. We're not going to do this without changing the way we do business in this country, because it's going to walk right over us, and it's a sad story. But if people like you will stand up to that and just be aware of it, don't be snowed. These people are not saving the world by growing unsustainably. The world has got to be getting back to the way it was, growing on the earth with the sun and the water, not with the chemicals, not with the controls, with the patents on all the seeds. That's all wrong. The Supreme Court got that wrong in 1996 when former Monsanto employee Judge Clarence Thomas sat on the board and passed a law making it legal to patent GMOs so that Monsanto could continue their race towards dominance of the food world. We're up against a huge thing here, folks. It's so big that I obviously could talk about this for years, but we gotta take it on. And that's what we're doing. Everybody's trying to do it, but don't lose sight of the fact that it's a real thing. Climate change comes from the ground up. It's in the soil. We're destroying the soil. That's where the carbon belongs. It doesn't belong in the sky. All this unsustainable farming is ruining the planet. We have to turn it around and get back, and it's more than just organic farming, although that's the key thing. If you buy organic, you're supporting the movement. If you buy something and you don't know what's in it, believe me, you're not supporting the family farmer. You're supporting GMOs, you're supporting Monsanto, Syngenta, Dow, the American government, all these multinationals all working together in their own interest so they can keep their political offices. They're not working for farms when you buy that food. So please just try to make the right choice at the store and, try to get a good night's sleep.
Thank you very much. The agricultural world is about a lot of things. It's about farmers, advocates, soil, water, but it's also about eaters. And Farm Aid recently invited people to share the actions from eaters, things they were doing across the nation. Sometimes they tried their first family farmed food here at Farm Aid, and sometimes they met their first family farmer. So let's take a look at what some of them had to say on this video.
The Good Food movement has created positive change in my community.
It has to be in the forefront to eat more naturally, not out of the box.
I think very differently about the food system today.
I care about what I eat because I see it as the main way that I connect with the world around me.
We just wanted to be more connected to our food.
We like buying local and saving money.
I'm making a difference by making local food accessible for people by starting a farmer's market.
It's more about the food, caring for the food.
It'll help our economy, help our health, and it'll help our communities.
The produce tastes really good, especially when you eat it the day that you get it.
From the farm to the table is our only hope to be here long enough to watch our grandchildren grow into young adults.
We started school gardens at my child's school because we care about our kids learning where real food comes from.
I like having a garden because it's a fun way to grow food and eat food.
I went to the first Farm Aid 30 years ago and found a new appreciation for farming and farmers.
Without family farms, corporations control our food. And I don't want Monsanto in my refrigerator.
Let's welcome two people who are taking action on their own to change the food system. Patrick Stahl is a college student from Iowa who wants to make a difference. He joined Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement in a fight against factory farms for clean water. Welcome, Patrick. Rosario Maldonado is a Chicagoan working on growing her urban farm to get healthy food to people who need it, particularly through Women and Infants and Children's Nutrition Program. Welcome, Rosario. So Patrick, you're a young guy. What motivated you to get involved in this fight for family farms and healthy food?
The most direct answer to that is that I want to drink clean water. And you would think that that's not too much to ask, but I live in a state, I live in Iowa, and we have the third worst water in the country. And that's not because of family farms, that's not because of organic farms, that's because of corporate farms that put liquefied, toxified manure on fields they know damn well is running into our rivers that we drink out of, know damn well that we're going to drink that water. And we have a DNR that does nothing about it. So that's most directly what got me involved. And you might think that I live in a city, I work in a city, you might think that there are just separate issues. City people need to worry about the minimum wage, you need to worry about police brutality. These farm people can worry about their own things, their own corporatization of agriculture, but that's not true. Our causes are united in effect. We drink the water that comes through farmland, we eat the food that's grown on farms. And they're also united in cause. The reason that family farmers are being pushed off of their farms or having their farms taken away is that corporations can buy up that land and make millions of dollars off of it. The reason that I've had to struggle every month to make rent is because my employer can pay me $7.25 an hour and make millions of dollars off my labor. And even Black Lives Matter, the reason that so many people are incarcerated, there are so many people that make a lot of money off of so many people being incarcerated. So capitalism is the problem here, and capitalists don't see the difference between urban and rural. They see little people that they can push down into the dirt and make an incredible amount of money off of. And you have to stand up and fight back. You have to say, that ain't right, and that's what I'm here to do.
Thank you, Patrick. Rosario, you try to get healthy food to people who really need it in Chicago. What are some of the barriers you face in getting that healthy food to some of the people who need it most?
Aside from crazy politics, I would say it's getting people to change habits and, voluntarily, convincing people, hey, the little changes are going to make a big difference in your life. You're not going to have to carry a bag of pills with you 20 years down the road if you just eat some vegetables every day, consume fruit. So I think getting young people involved as soon as they can, they start eating is the biggest challenge. Don't feed your kid processed foods, and and even if you grow up on it, I think a lot of us grew up in an era where processed foods were a thing, of every day, and it's kind of like we got to push that out and just convince young people to eat better, and then that motivates us to work the land, because then it's like, hey, where did it come from? Oh, this is how a tomato looks like on a plant. Like, that's exciting, So I think that's one of the biggest challenges is just getting people to change small habits that will make a huge difference.
Thanks so much. They say kids who grew the food are much more likely to eat the food. Now, I'd like to move over to Dave Matthews, someone who I hear really likes food a lot, too. Not from that, I just hear you like it. You've stood up for a lot of things through your movement, through your music. What can the average person do to stand up for better food, better agriculture, better environment?
I think that this is a good combo with the two of you because it explains the two sides that we have here. We have a growing awareness, a more public awareness in a way. It's not enough about where our food comes from and how our food is produced. And maybe more of us know now than did 20 years ago. And maybe there are more local restaurants that have local food that pride themselves in doing that. Maybe there's more publications and it's more a conversation that we hear. But like Neil was saying, and Patrick was saying, what's so crazy is the power that's wielded by the people that are sort of companies like Tyson that are forcing good farmers into situations where they have to produce food in a way that's toxic and that's not profitable, and it's indentured servantry and forcing people down and still forcing them to serve. this greater evil. And companies like Monsanto's who pretend that they're protecting the farmers by saying, no, people don't need to know what's in their food. We don't need to know what's in our food because it's all fine. Everything's fine. It hurts the farmer if you try and tell people what's in the food, which I can't do the math for that one, but somehow it's insisted. We have to have both fights. We need to teach our children that what they eat matters not only to their bodies, but also to the land and to the community and to the farmers and to everybody, to the health of the planet. We also need to tell our children and fight for our children against the bottom line interests of big money. And it's not, there's no way Monsanto is going to say, okay, it is all about money. Why would they do that? Because then they'd be busted. They're going to say, no, it's about saving the world. It's about feeding the children. It's about looking after the land in a productive, efficient way. There's no way Tyson is going to say, okay, well, we're just trying to screw these farmers and screw the land in as cheap a way possible so that we can make our money and our investors and shareholders can get their cake and eat it too. It's bullshit, but we have two fights, and I think this is the perfect example of what those fights are. Education, knowledge, and screaming from the top of the mountain that we need to be defended by our government and represented by our government rather than pushed down by it.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out here to this program this morning, and Executive Director Carolyn Mugar is going to say some closing remarks.
Well, I think it's all been said today, but we all have a deep, deep gratitude to our fellow artists on the board here and on the stage, and I know everybody wants to thank them. It takes everybody doing something. Everybody from where you are can do something, and that really is the message today. We want to invite people to do that. I am very deeply indebted to the Farm Aid staff, and I wish everybody would just raise their hand somewhere because we have an amazing, dedicated staff. Glenda, where are you? Jen Fahey. It's an amazing, as Glenda always says, we have a big appetite, and it's really hard for us to not be doing something, and we take on maybe too much, but that's what has to be taken on today. And it's not without everybody here that we do it. And I invite you all to have an absolutely great experience because all the food is family farm food, locally sourced, and it is from sustainable farms and a fair price to the farmer. So we want to invite you all to have a great time. The Homegrown Village is seething in action. So go out and have a wonderful time. Thank you all so much.
Happy 30th anniversary. We wish you 30 more.
I was there when Farm Aid started, and I'm honored to still be a part of the Farm Aid family.
We are friends of family farmers in Oregon.
I want to personally thank Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp,
Dave Matthews, and all the people who are part of Farm Aid, who are doing such tremendous work.
I'd like to thank Farm Aid for turning these values into a national campaign.
Thank you, Farm Aid.
Thanks, Farm Aid.
Congratulations to Farm Aid. 30 years fighting for family farms, 30 years of standing up for what's right.